the car kind of fell apart in the second half. Maybe the altitude got to them. That could be a take. Field goal kicking, not good. I think they went 2 for 5. It was a really weird game. Unfortunately, I was on the under, and the game went to OT, so we kind of know what happens there. That one sucked. That was kind of the one that if I hit that, I have like a green day, but that's part of it. Let me. How am I doing, Wyoming? See what the spread's at now. So this was at 7, and it's kind of teeter-tottering around 6.5, 7. And I'm not surprised because I think there's a little bit of two-way action on this. Like I think if it's at 6.5, people are going to try to bet Oregon, and then if it gets to 7, I think some of the sharps are going to kind of come back the other way, just from the conversations I've been having and how they feel about this one. The total's at 67.5. Now this was one on the better weather map that did have some wind implications. Let's start there. What's the weather forecast looking like for wind?
So that actually just happened this morning. It went from a low impact to a moderate impact. So we haven't taken anything on it yet, and we're just watching it for now. It seems like it's going to be pretty breezy across. I think it was like 15 miles per hour or something. It seems like a pretty breezy day across a lot of Texas. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and we're going to check out the weather pattern for to see if the signal's strong enough for us to think that the total could be impacted. So we'll post that on Twitter once. We'll probably talk about it later this afternoon and just keep an eye on it. And first of all, this is because you mentioned something that really resonated with me because I was thinking about this. This is a tough week. So historically, week 2 is an overreaction week, market wise, right? So it's still hard to evaluate most of these teams. And this Oregon Texas Tech game. So admittedly, I didn't watch this game, but I went back and I looked at the stats.
Texas Tech, Wyoming.
Yeah. Sorry, Texas Tech, Wyoming. Yeah, and Texas Tech outgained Wyoming by 111 yards.
Yep.
They had one less turnover. Wyoming only really beat them on the ground. They had more rushing yards. So it seems like Texas Tech just got mauled by penalties, and that's what ended up costing them the game. And then Wyoming's post-game win expectancy, how often you could expect to win based on the predictive stats that they produced, was only 17%. So
I agree with that. From the eye test, it felt like Texas Tech should have won that game.
Yeah, exactly. So they should have won that game on paper. And then Oregon looked absolutely dominant against a mediocre Big Sky opponent. So it's one of those things where I think Texas Tech they've got a chip on their shoulder after that. So this is a stay away from me. I don't like the line. I don't know what to do with this line. I mean, I think if it were maybe 10 points or something along those lines, I may act on it. But I am interested in this game just to get a better feel for both of these teams. But I don't know what to do with that 6.5. I think Oregon's got enough on offense to cover that. But then again, we haven't really seen what Texas Tech can do yet, just due to the weird nature of that Wyoming game.
Exactly. And I feel like the game against Portland State, Oregon-Portland State, you can't really take anything away from that. I know it was like a big cover, like easy cover, big win. So you kind of say like, well, I mean, what did we learn? Maybe not a lot. But with Texas Tech, I feel like we did learn some things, and they're not as bad as what the final score kind of came out to. And if they can fix turnovers and score in the red zone, I think they're going to be okay. I mean, again, they went 2 for 5 from field goal. One of them hit the post. One was bad. One was like blocked. So if they can figure out how to score in the red zone, it's going to be a way different outcome than what we saw in the Wyoming game. But I know like people are looking at the spread and they're like, how the heck is Oregon only 6.5 after what we saw with Wyoming? So I think that's kind of what you're alluding to, right? Like people are like, what do we make of this?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think I'm gonna lean Texas Tech at 6.5. At +7, I grabbed this at Bet Rivers. I got in at 7, but I actually think at 6.5, I still might dabble. The thing is, maybe wait to see if it touches 7 again. It's hard to say if it gets there and stays there, but that's going to be kind of my lean as far as like what to do with this. And also, as you said, just kind of monitor the weather, right? Like, I guess what's the like if things do kind of continue on the path of like having some winds, are we looking like 15 miles per hour maybe if it gets there?
Yeah, I think that's about where it's at. And I don't know if it gets above that, then there's definitely some interest in the under there. But as of right now, it's at 15, and I don't know. It's one of those things where we haven't really looked at it yet, but we briefly mentioned it in our group chat this morning because it just switched over to moderate, because I checked the weather map, before I came on stream just in case there were any updates, and that was the update. So yeah, we'll have to see, because it could also drop, down to like 12 or something, in which case it'll switch back over to low impact. So we'll just keep an eye on it. And then obviously that's one of the bigger games. So if anything does happen with that, as far as weather impacts, we will definitely tweet that out as soon as possible.
Sounds good. All right, let's transition. And before we get into the next game, I do want to talk about the NFL Challenge we have going on using Pikkit as our sponsor. So this is going to be really fun every Friday, and I want Yvette to get into this too.